From the pages of Wrestling Remembered comes Where Are They Now? Our own Jimmy Pharaoh. Even though Jimmy's missing in action from the show for the past couple months, his chair is just waiting for his return. Currently, Pharaoh is on break from the show and is soaking up the sun with his love in Florida. Ron Shaw. Last we saw Ron, he and Monty buried the hatchet on an episode of Monte and the Pharaoh. Since then, Ron was seen threatening to punch a director after not receiving a role on the senior edition of The Jersey Shore. Currently, he can be seen beating up drunks at his country club. John Cena Sr. John Cena Sr. quickly became a friend of the show during the Thursday Night Wars. Currently, Mr. Cena can be found making his world-famous hot sauce. Daniela Petro. Former co-host Daniela was terminated for breaking the code of conduct of Monte and the Pharaoh and has returned to a life of irrelevance and posting about Matt Riddle on X.com. That's all for this week. Make sure to check out Wrestling Remembered for your weekly dose of wrestling history.
And APB, American Protection Bureau, voted #1 best on Long Island for all your security needs. Call 631-390-9050. That's 631-390-9050. APB.
You need a body shop? You need engine repair? Auto Excellence, Collision Specialists, 631-261-6420. That's 631-261-6420. Auto Excellence. Jimmy, I gotta take a dump.
What?
No, I mean I need a dumpster.
Well, for all those needs, you need to call Big V Dumpster Rental, Long Island, New York, 631-900-DUMP. Elm Logistics, for all your logistic needs, call 631-299-3595. That's 631-299-3595. Elm Global Logistics, pride, performance, and partnerships.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Wrestling Remembered. This is ESO, also known as Bruce, and I'm here with the player, Benny Scala. And what a day, Joe! What a day, Joe!
What a day! What a day, gentlemen! What a day!
What's going on, guys?
Not much. Glad to be here. We're going live, man. We're hitting a big time now.
Yeah, we are.
It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday, hump day, the week's middle finger, all that good stuff, right?
I love that when you always say that, Joe.
Yeah, that's why I'm in the middle finger. There you go. But hey, this is awesome. This is our first live edition. Hopefully, we get a couple of the Monte and the Pharaoh regulars in the chat to interact with us, and this should be a good time. So hey, what a day! What's going on with you this week?
Well, sports, everything, sports. You know, between podcasts, baseball podcasts, the newly rebranded Twin Bill is now the Line Drive Baseball Podcast, coming right at you, by the way. We just taped our inaugural episode yesterday. That should be posted soon on the Monte and the Pharaoh YouTube channel. Of course, we got What a Day in Centerville going on tonight. And, of course, I'm looking forward to challenging at the 30 tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern time. So, busy schedule this week. Busy.
Nice. Hey, player, what's going on over there?
Same here. So we did like Joe said, we did the Line Drive initial episode, or the initial rebranded episode.
Rebranded, yeah.
Dan and Benny in the ring last night. We had George Shire, wrestling historian. We got today, and then we have we're all going to be gunning for it tomorrow night on the 30.
Nice. Wow.
I'm turning into the SD Jones of that show. I'm telling you, coming up short every time.
Yeah, I know, every week, just shy. You should have,
1 point.
Well, yeah, we've got a lot going on with this channel, a lot of growth, a lot of really good content going on. The 30 is going crazy. We're getting great reviews on that, and
nice.
Great show.
Yeah, and as always, we have at 9 p.m. on Thursday, we have the Monte and the Pharaoh show that follows. Hey Betty, what is the guy's name this week? You know, you've interviewed him before.
Who's that?
That Monty has this week. What is the gentleman's name?
Oh, Keith Elliott Greenberg. Great
Oh, yeah.
author. Man, oh man. He's so many good books. The only book I've actually read of his was the his Fred Blassie book. And it was absolutely terrific. But he's written true crime books. He's written music books. He wrote a book about John Lennon, the day John Lennon was shot. Just a
That was just
prolific author. Good guy, too.
Unbelievable. Good stuff. Yeah, I've seen him on Facebook and stuff. Good guy.
Hey, Benny, your favorite playmate's in the chat.
Oh,
Shout out to, is Beth there? Yeah. Hey, Beth. Hopefully you're feeling well. She was a little bit under the weather today. Got a little bit of a cold, so best wishes for quick recovery.
Yeah, Beth,
thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you. Thank you. You're the first guest of our chat. Thank you.
She is the number one and forever playmate.
Players playmate. Nice. Okay.
Players got to play, and they need playmates to play with.
Nice.
Awesome. Hey, well, do you want to get this started? We got a lot to cover this week, and
yeah, let's do this.
So, Benny, you're gonna start us off. It looks like we're going
Yes,
we're
sir.
going back in time before me.
Wow.
All right. Yeah. Well, not before me, though. So December 11th, 1974, in Chula Vista, California, Oscar Gutierrez Rubio is born. And nobody knows who that is, but he actually made his professional wrestling debut on April 30th, 1989, at the young age of 14 as Rey Mysterio, named after his uncle who trained him. And, of course, he's been a force in wrestling for the last 34 years. To me, he's one of the all-time greats. How somebody who's like 5'0", weighing 100 nothing, could become such a huge force in professional wrestling. Now, I have to ask you guys a question, though. Sure. I am not a fan of Dominic Mysterio. Just my opinion. If Dominic Mysterio was named Dominic Jones and showed up at the Performance Center, weighing 130 pounds with a $130, whatever he weighs, with not an ounce of muscle on him, he's bagging groceries somewhere. That's just my opinion.
I have to agree.
I mean, do you disagree with his wrestling ability, his character? Because he's getting it done on the entertainment side. There's no doubt about it. That crowd noise when he tries to speak, that's like gold for WWE.
I really think. I think in deference, Rhea Ripley is really the one who's giving him the run. Not literally. Well, maybe, who knows? Backstage that could be happening too, but.
Yeah, no,
I
she's with
agree.
Buddy Murphy.
I agree, Benny. If he weren't Rey Mysterio's son, he would not be anywhere. He's too small to be part of the WWE. He just doesn't. He's very vanilla. I don't know how the character got over that big, but I have to say it did. I mean, you can't deny the crowd.
He's not Eric Watts horrible, and he's not David Flair horrible.
I put him in like the Miz, where he annoys me.
Right. I'm just saying, as far as sons of famous wrestlers. I mean, David Flair had to be one of the worst. Eric Watts was god awful.
Oh God, yeah.
But I mean, Dominic is not a bad talent. I'm just saying that if Dominic was somebody else, we would never see him.
In the 80s, he would have been enhancement.
Yeah, Mike's saying Dom is the MVP. Okay, well,
Well, I mean, you take him out of the Judgment Day, and there's really nothing there. So
no, he's
getting
getting
the
the
rub
from
from
everybody.
guy. I mean, you got to be a great athlete to perform in WWE in front of all those fans and everything. I think he's perfect for what he's doing right now. But as the saying goes, what happens when the Judgment Day disbands and all that stuff? What happens to Dominic there? I mean, does he reconcile with his father? I mean, there's a lot of possibilities.
That's eventually that's got to happen eventually.
Well, eventually, is he going to wear a mask? Is he going to don a mask? I mean, that's in his legacy.
Rey Mysterio the third.
Yeah.
Is he going to hit the juice? Is he going to bulk up there?
I don't know.
And I'm not saying he's not good right now. I'm just saying he never would have gotten that door open if he showed up at the Performance Center, looking like he looked. We wouldn't see him.
I mean, the guy literally grew up in a WWE ring. I mean, the storyline with Guerrero and Mysterio and the battle for custody and all that stuff. I mean, he knows the business.
Yeah, grew up on TV.
Like I said, he's perfect for what he's doing right now.
And
I can't see him as anything else right now. I can't picture it. If it's rebranding or something like that, I don't know. But right now, he's perfect for where he's at right now, for what he can do and what he's established as far as
the top heel in the company.
I would say.
Oh, look at this. We're already penalized 7 points for the. I mean, what happened to free speech here? Come
Oh
on.
my God. Who got deducted 7 points? This is crazy.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
I'm
wait,
already
wait, wait,
screwed.
Phil,
I might as well-
it's Phil who got deducted. Phil, you were starting tomorrow. Oh, +7.
Oh, there you go.
I think I'm going to just bring my laptop to some bar and do my best Foster Brooks imitation on that. And,
Unbelievable. You can't get away from the 30, huh? It's that hot.
yeah.
It's hot.
I mean, it's being talked about everywhere. Look at this.
Oh,
All right, am I up now? What do we got here?
There we go. Yep.
All right, we're going back to December 11th, 1997, in my own backyard, Lowell, Massachusetts. Attitude Era just about to turn that corner, almost, taking that right-hand turn and so forth. This particular thing here, WWF Commissioner Sergeant Slaughter setting up a European title match between champion Shawn Michaels and his DX cohort Triple H. Michaels, obviously the WWF champion at the time, lays down and allows Triple H to cover him for the pinfall and the championship. Now, this is, this would be one of several DX's encounters with Sergeant Slaughter for the next few years. With Shawn Michaels laying down for Triple H and so forth, it was perceived back then as mockery, not only to the sport, but to the European Championship. So this was kind of, this is where that turn was taking place where, they're going to do things their own way now, and they're going to get away from, because, Slaughter wanted them to brawl, and they weren't going to have it. DX was formed. We all know what happened after that and so forth. Quick note, though, Shawn Michaels defeated the British Bulldog in September of 97 in Birmingham, England for the title. And in less than 3 months, the title was unified with the, they battled for 3 months, but the title was finally unified with the Intercontinental title all the way back up to July of 2022. I did not know that. For some reason, that European title, did anybody pay attention to the European Championship back then? Anybody?
I have a question about the European title. Was it ever defended in Europe?
Well, yeah. What do you call it? British Bulldog won it there. And
I think that was it, though, wasn't it?
Well, then Michaels beat him in Birmingham, England after that.
They did, okay.
97. So technically, yeah, it was birthed over there. But this title, I mean, I looked at some of the title holders. I don't know. I wasn't a big fan. Let's put it that way.
It wasn't like it was half of the IC title. It was just, it was a
unify
step up
with
from
the,
the hardcore title.
To unify with the Intercontinental title made zero sense to me. That IC title has been around since '79. We all know Pat Patterson, Rio de Janeiro, big tournament winner there.
Yeah.
But
Legendary
then you got to throw the year. Yeah, that was awesome. What a tournament. I mean, I can't find the actual footage of the match, but I heard it's out there somewhere.
My flight got canceled.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I got for that one, guys. So, the laying down, they considered it a mockery. A lot of wrestling pundits and so forth were getting on board with the DX and the Attitude Era. And, they thought it was, some people thought it was funny. Some people thought it was a mockery, not only to the title, but to the sport itself. But hey, we've seen a number of those types of finishes before. So.
Well, we're going to fast forward a number of years to 2014, NXT TakeOver Re-Evolution. So this sees the debut of Kevin Owens, who defeats C.J. Parker, who is now known as Juice Robinson. In the main event, Sami Zayn defeats Adrian Neville to win the NXT Championship, only to be attacked by his lifelong friend, Owens, who powerbombs him off the ring apron. So that was we got to look.
Yeah,
these guys have been together on and off forever, and they just don't seem to be reaching that main event level that they were kind of groomed to get. In NXT, they were top guys, but in the WWE, they just don't seem to be getting that next level. But when we check out the whole card, you had Kevin Owens making his debut, defeating C.J. Parker. You had the Lucha Dragons, Kalisto and Sin Cara defeating the Vaudevillains. Who was that? That was
I love the Vaudevillains.
Oh man, that was such a great team.
Yeah, 80 in English and Simon Gotch.
In English. Yeah, right.
Yeah, Baron Corbin defeated Ty Dillinger by pinfall.
He had long hair then, I bet, right? Yeah.
Yep. Finn Balor and Hideo Itami defeat the Ascension. Charlotte defeats Sasha Banks for the NXT Championship, and then Sammy defeating
Shocker.
Yeah, and then Sammy defeating Neville. So Yeah, a lot of future main eventers and a lot of future history in the WWE there. But I think that big thing is Kevin Owens debuting on that day. He's made his definitely made his impact. I'm just waiting for him to get that next break to become that main eventer. I don't know what it
came
is.
up with a huge push though. He went right over Cena. Didn't he win the U.S. Championship?
Yeah.
When he started, and then he just kind of stalled after that.
Well, he had a run with Roman Reigns for a while there.
Yeah,
I saw
that was a great match too.
Yeah.
The Reigns Owens title match was phenomenal.
There's no doubt about it that NXT hit gold with the Owens Sami Zayn feud, because that even brought my attention to NXT to see what those two can do and so forth.
They work very well together.
They really fast forwarded them to Raw and SmackDown right after that, and they tried to do that same thing again. It just didn't go over as well. I don't know if because nobody really knew the history, even though they tried to show you the old photos of them in Canada and all that stuff. My take on this is I think history is going to repeat itself. I know Sammy's out with an injury right now, but Sammy is on fire. He's loved by everybody. Owens, same thing. I think you're going to see this Owens-Sami Zayn thing. They're going to get together, probably at WrestleMania and do something together again and all that stuff. But I think come next year, SummerSlam like that, you're going to see a full-blown Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens battle royale. I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to groom that again.
Yeah, so I can get a lot of juice out of that.
Yeah, they were too new when they came up to WWE. When they got transferred up, and everyone was like, okay, who's Kevin Owens again? Who's Sami Zayn? Unless you're a loyal NXT follower, you knew who they were, but they just weren't household names yet.
Well, and
but now they are.
Most people, they were Kevin Steen and El Generico. They had go to their new names.
I mean, and they kept showing all the old photographs and the video of them together growing up. That's great. You got a Christian and Edge type of scenario here. Same thing. I think right now with both men being seasoned, we'll call them veterans now because they've been up here for almost 10 years. I would say definitely you're going to see a Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn feud again. And it's going to be wild because they can probably push the envelope now, with Vince McMahon being no longer with creative. I think Triple H and those guys will do something big with them later on down the road.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. Awesome. Who's up next? What do we got next?
I'm going way back, and I'm waiting for one of these where that happened before I was born. But I was 7.5 when this one happened. December 12th, 1963, the National Arena, Washington D.C. in a rare televised wrestling appearance. Actually, in a match, Bruno would do a lot of interviews. Rarely wrestled on TV.
Right.
He defeated the great Hans Mortier, great wrestler. Yeah. And also on this card was Pedro Morales, a very young Pedro Morales, who scored a victory over a guy named Gordo Chihuahua. Man, if they give you a name like Gordo Chihuahua, you're fucked. Rumor has it he came back as Sammy Shih Tzu, but yeah, Pedro. I mean, look, 8 years later, look what happened.
No kidding. Wow, 63, huh?
Yep, Pedro was around for. That's one thing people think that Pedro came onto the scene in 1970, 71. He was there before.
Oh yeah, no, I get that. My goodness, the great Mortier. Whatever happened to him? I know the name.
He got, huge push. He was managed. I don't know if you remember this guy, Joe Red Berry.
Wild Red Berry, yeah.
And I think he left in 68. I'm not sure where he went after that. I don't think he ever came back, though. I mean, he would do 1 hour draws with Bruno. I mean, he was a main eventer. Yeah. Guy had he was a bodybuilder from Holland. I think his real name was Jacob Grobbe, Grobbe. Wow. But yeah, he was, heel, definitely, 100% heel. And he did. That was in 68. He was one of the rotating. You bring in a new heel. They go through the. First they beat Arnold Skolin, then they beat Antonio Pugliese, and then later it was Jay Strongbow.
The chief, Joey Scapa,
right from Nutley, New Jersey, right? Yeah. And then then they did the match with Bruno, and it was a good match. They got three sellouts out of it. Sometimes it was just one, but yeah. So. Yeah, I guess we should do another show on whatever happened to Gordo Chihuahua.
Nice. So let's fast forward a couple of years to my prime wrestling youth. WWF tapes matches, part of the 1989 pay-per-view movie, or on a pay-per-view, No Holds Barred match. It was wow. It was for the movie. It was Brutus Beefcake and Hulk Hogan against Randy Savage and Zeus, Tiny Lister there. I don't know which was worse, the movie, the match, the concept, but I don't really have much to talk about. I don't I don't want to crap on anybody, but Tanya Lister didn't deserve. He didn't belong in the ring. He was an awesome person, great actor, but that definitely wasn't his forte.
That's a typical Vince McMahon circus money grab right there. I mean,
Yeah.
that was the movie, the big screen, literally off the big screen into the ring.
Yeah,
and
it was so huge.
I was scratching my head on this one. Yeah, I was scratching my head on this one.
I was probably 12-ish, 12, 13 at this point, and big wrestling fan. So for me, I couldn't wait to go see it, and I think that might have been one of the reasons I stopped watching wrestling at that point. It was either keep watching that. Yeah, there was it got bad. It was getting to that. That point.
That was probably almost the beginning of Hogan's exit. Right after that, he left a couple of years later.
Yeah, 90, well, 91 was 90 was the when he defeated. 90 he lost the belt to Warrior. 91 he won it back from Slaughter, and then then 92 he was gone. But this was
I could see. This is big time stuff right here now. That's
Bruce, you lost 4 more points for no selling, no host bar. Now you're minus 11. You might as well stay home. Jeez.
Oh, gee, big surprise there.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to actually win tomorrow? You'll all be negative by the time I get on the show tomorrow night. This is great. This is good stuff.
All right.
That looks like I'm up here, folks. Right. All right.
Yes,
so December 12th, December 12th, 1990, Minneapolis, Minnesota, obviously the AWA Heartland. AWA World Heavyweight Champion Larry Zbyszko relinquishes the title to his father-in-law, who we all know is Vern Gagne. When he signs with WCW, the title was then retired, and the AWA was gone the following year. I'll be honest with you, I just really recently found out that Vern Gagne is Larry Zbyszko's father-in-law, the late Vern Gagne.
I didn't know that for years. So
he's married to Larry's married to Kathleen Gagne. By that time, though, the AWA had, already been inactive since the fall. Yeah. Despite the inactivity, they continued to broadcast programming into 1991, maintaining a presence in the wrestling world, but we all know. However, the final blow to the AWA came when the promotion, unable to sustain itself, financially filed for bankruptcy. This event signified just the end of the championship, but also the closure of the once prominent wrestling promotion, thus ending an influential era in the professional wrestling history, as well as the territory system. Like this, I got out of the Navy at this time, and I was like blown away that what happened to the AWA? Like that was, I picked up the old wrestling magazines, and there were 3 world champions: NWA, AWA, and WWF. And now, to me, that's a part of my childhood that's gone now, because AWA was something I always look forward to in the wrestling magazines, and further on the line when cable came down my road,
Yeah, so, and they were on equal footing. I mean, in the 60s and the 70s, they were huge. They were on par with each other. It wasn't they weren't the AEW to the WWE. They were a powerful organization.
Definitely. My only question is back in the day when, because like I've mentioned before on other podcasts and so forth, like I turn on Georgia Championship Wrestling and I'll see the Wild Samoans wrestling down there. And then they'll be on WWF programming a week later. Like they used to shuttle the wrestlers back and forth, load them out per se, as they say. I never really saw AWA and WWF do that. Outside of a couple of, I think I can go back to some history matches there back, on the old WWE Network, and saw like maybe a quick Vern Gagne sighting, an exhibition match.
He did an occasional shot. Vern did a shot at MSG once in a while.
I want to say Jim Brunzell before the High Flyers and all that stuff.
He did.
Came over. Yep. But you didn't see that shuttle all the time. Nobody was involved in storylines and all that. It was more like filler on cards that were obviously house shows back then. But that was one thing I was always confused about, because, NWA, WWF, they always did stuff. But I don't know. I think that was a part of my history, too, growing up. There was always that AWA mainstay, Crusher Blackwell, Jerry Blackwell. Ken Patera, of course, Hogan.
Yeah, Wahoo, Billy Graham.
I know Phil DeSari's favorite wrestler, Rock and Roll Buck Zumhoff, was out of there and all that stuff. So, but hey, it is what it is. But it's part of history. It's it's sad, having a promotion get eaten up like that. But this is part of Vince McMahon's plan to slowly disassemble everybody that's in his way, as you move across the coast. So.
Yeah, maybe we should do Where Are They Now? It was Gordo Chihuahua and then Rock and Roll Buck Zumhoff. Where are they now?
Zumhoff's in prison.
Listen into the boombox. Gotta love it.
So December 13th, 1988, speaking of the AWA, in an attempt to thwart the meteoric expansion of the WWF, collaborates with World Class Wrestling, Powerful Women of Wrestling, and the Memphis-based CWA to stage Super Clash 3 from the UIC Pavilion in Chicago. It was a bust. This is kind of less than 2,000 fans and only 40,000 pay-per-view buys. Highlights or lowlights, however you want to look at it, were Jimmy Valiant defeating Wayne Bloom in 24 seconds. I don't get that one. And Jerry Lawler defeated Kerry Von Erich to unify the AWA and the WCWA titles. But by then, I mean, Joe just said it. By then, the AWA they were heavy duty circling the drain.
Yeah, that was the
Their
USWA then,
moments,
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Their best moments were way behind them, and I'll always wonder if Hulk had won the title. Maybe the state would. I think the state would still happen, but I think it would happen maybe like say 3 years later. I think he would. I think Hulk would have given like another year or two.
Yeah, this is definitely a downfall. This is a start there. It's sad though because they were a powerhouse. They just got gobbled up by the Vince McMahon marketing machine, and this is definitely the circus era of WWE now, where they're packing their house shows were like in stadiums. 15, 16,000, like Saturday night's main event. They had easily 15,000 people at the Meadowlands or something like that.
Yeah, this was coming off of WrestleMania 3 era. That was like
So I mean, it's sad. I mean, I don't know what it is. To me, I sometimes think it's location where they were located. But it was a hotbed back in the day. Minneapolis was a hotbed. There's no doubt about it.
They would run monthly cards in both St. Paul and Minneapolis, and they pack them in there.
Yeah. I mean, they were like the Von Erichs in Texas. They had a control in that area, and they just got gobbled up. And I think Vern Gagne had some issues as well with Vince McMahon personally. So who knows what happened on that end.
Right.
All right. So I'm moving on. Is that me again? I'm up again. Wow.
Yeah, you're working hard today, Joe.
All right. December 13th, 1989 in beautiful Huntsville, Alabama. The Colossal Connection, a.k.a. Andre the Giant and Haku, defeated Demolition with the WWF Tag Team Championships. Now, this would be the last title in Andre's illustrious career. The Colossal Connection beat Demolition. This was tape delayed for a week, so theoretically they won the belts, and it was shown to the world on the TV on December 30th, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
Haku actually wrestled Demolition all by himself, never tagging Andre the Giant in due to Andre's ongoing health problems that would eventually cause his death less than 3 years later. By the way, this is also Andre's last official match in the WWF, so 1989, not a good year for Andre with his health problems and so forth.
Like,
so
what, 2.5 years removed from WrestleMania 3 and he was in bad shape then.
He limped into WrestleMania 3. I mean,
he barely made that. I can only imagine what kind of shape he was by late 89.
Oh yeah, he really degenerated, really went downhill.
Now, that says the last title. Yeah. I mean, did he? Do you know if he won any other titles? I mean, he won nothing in WWF.
Well, he got the.
Well, he did win. I guess he did win the. Technically, is he technically a WWF champion?
Yeah, Ted DiBiase gave him the title there, so I think he's recognized as well, right?
Or he won it. He gave it to DiBiase.
Yeah, he won and gave it to DiBiase.
So I guess that counts.
So he gets that. I remember seeing in the old wrestling magazines. I think he won the title from Harley Race to the NWA, and he said, "I don't want it." Or something like that. I remember reading the article. I don't think it's recognized, but I remember reading the article, and Andre actually had the title on his shoulder. But I think it was one of those deals where, I won, that's it. I don't want to be the champion, because Andre by then was being loaned out to everybody from Vince McMahon Sr.
Yeah,
so
Phil makes a very good comment. Poor Andre couldn't stand up straight. I mean, by then, he was in absolute agony.
He was doped up on so much medication, and then he had the back brace when he fought Hogan in Michigan, WrestleMania 3. So, yeah, he limped in, and that was in 87. So, fast forward a couple of years later, and I think they were just trying to get as much exposure and money out of him as they can. And that's the Vince McMahon marketing machine. He wanted to keep Andre in the focus and the limelight and all this. And I'm sure deep down, Andre wanted to be in front of the fans because that was his life.
What do you guys know how much he got paid for that match, Andre?
Did they have contract?
Anybody out there, if you guys can, I heard he got $1 million.
for the WrestleMania match.
The match against Hogan at WrestleMania 3.
Oh, I'm sure that. Yeah, I'm sure there was a big payout for that. Had to be.
I thought I heard $1 million, but
where I feel bad for him is that run with the Warrior, because from what I've heard, he had to take the Warrior Slam every night, or or body slam on house shows. So that, I mean, Andre should never be on a house show.
that was absolutely disgraceful. I mean, just to tarnish the legacy of Andre, to have him job to Warrior every night. And I mean, you're talking like there were like 45-second matches. They weren't even, not even a competitive match. It just that was very sad.
We get some accountants chiming in here. Somebody said loose can says $500K.
But then Phil says $1 million. So
yeah, well, we get either or, right? So big money. That's big money back then. Don't forget.
Yeah, and $87. That's good, Jack.
Yeah, I mean
for 15 minutes of work.
So. Yeah, really.
Well, listen, guys, it's about time to take a quick break. So we'll be right back.
The Monte and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite 4-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah.
Tired of that same old breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Same old tasting scrambled eggs, burger, that dinner steak, ribs, or pork chops? Why not add a little bit of spice or just a touch of heat to make the difference? Change that scrambled egg with a little bit of Johnny Fabulous's John Cena Sr.'s $1 Million Jalapeno Hot Sauce. Great on burgers, steaks, chops, and those barbecued ribs.
And Nitro's Garage for all your automotive needs. Call 646-675-2349. That's 646-675-2349. For all your automotive needs, Nitro's Garage. Ask for Jack.
Do you treat your dog as part of the family? Well, so do we. So why not celebrate your pup's birthday with the ultimate party box? Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Party Pup Info, and let us make your pup's party or any celebration perfection.
M&J Video Games and Collectibles. Sport and non-sport cards, wrestling items, autographed items. We buy, sell, and trade. M&J Video Games and Collectibles, located at 1049 Queen Street, Southington, Connecticut. Call us at 1-860-479-9223 or 860-93-GAMES. M&J Video Games and Collectibles.
Welcome back to Wrestling Remembered. Let's real quick give a shout out to our faithful followers here. We got Phil DeCesare, the president of Thursday Night and habitual The 30 champion. We got Loose Cannon. We got who else? We got Beth Harper, the number one playmate, the premier playmate,
and then we have
Matthew Holland.
Wait, the notorious Matthew Holland is in the house.
Yes,
Notorious. That's a good wrestling name, Matthew Holland Tunnel. That'd be good, right?
That's a Chris Berman, right?
Oh yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, Chris Berman. He could go all the way. Nice.
The Raiders.
The Raiders. Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. That's awesome.
So let's stay on December 13th, but we're going to go to 2009 in San Antonio, where WWE's first Tables, Ladders, and Chairs pay-per-view took place at the AT&T Center. 3 title changes took place. Drew McIntyre defeated John Morrison to win the IC Championship. Sheamus won his first WWE Championship by defeating John Cena in a tables match, and the main event saw DX, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H defeat Chris Jericho, and The Big Show to win the unified WWE Tag Team Championships. Wow. So it's amazing how many of these guys are still there today. And you look at Sheamus. This was Sheamus's first title. Sheamus still so relevant today. At any point, he's one of the few people that I think could be few WWE competitors that could be brought back into the main event picture at any point. Drew McIntyre, come on, I didn't realize how much of an impact he's had on the WWE for so long.
Oh yeah.
You know, Christian still wrestling at that point, and that was what we would have thought would have been the end of his career, and now he's reinvented himself, and he's probably bigger than he's ever been. Well, over in AEW,
I got to tell you, this is probably like my, I want to say 09 to probably 2011, where I didn't really tune in every week religiously like I do now, because the product was very, very stale at that time. I'm not sure what was going on.
Well, they were cultivating the future audience. They were catering towards the kids so that they could grow up into this new attitude era that we have now.
Right. I mean, because these guys have been already in the ring close to 20 years now. And it's like, okay, what are we going to do now? It was stale at that time, if you remember. And this is pre-WWE Network. I know it was shortly after they wanted to, take WWE to another level and so forth. But it was a tough time for me anyways for those 2 years.
All righty, so we're going back to the AWA, December 14th, 1973. I was 3 months into college at that point, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Vern Gagne defeats The Crusher, Reggie Lasowski, to win his 6th AWA World Heavyweight Championship. And my comment here is, I guess it helps when you own the promotion, right? But now I want to get your guys' take on this, because this is something I've thought about. As far as WWF in the 60s and 70s, it was very formulaic. Like I said, they bring in a heel from another territory. Then he slowly work through the card, beat the Arnie Skolin, maybe beat the Nucci, right. And later on beat the Strongbow, get the match with Bruno. Bruno always won. The guy would slide down the card and leave for the next territory. They brought the next guy in. And they did that for years and years and years, and it worked. I mean, they always sold out the Garden.
Yeah.
But with Gagne and the AWA, I'm kind of making a joke that he won I think he won it 10 times in total, but their formula was a lot different. I mean, he would let, he had Mad Dog Vachon held the title for a couple of years. You had Bill Miller. You had, who else? Dr. X, the Destroyer, Dick Beyer. Right. You had Bockwinkel for 5 years, from 75 to 80. So their business model was the baby face fighting from underneath as the underdog.
Sure.
Where, the WWF was the other. Bruno was the hero. He was on top, and then the heel was chasing the champion. So just wondering what you guys thought about. They both worked.
Yeah, definitely that worked for Vern Gagne for a long time and so forth. But I also want to reiterate that Vern Gagne was running his wrestling school at that time. So a lot of his talent would be thrown on TV and all that stuff too. But my thing here is the eat, sleep, repeat process does get stale. How it didn't go stale sooner, I have no clue. I didn't live over there at that time. Obviously, I wasn't watching it there, but watching this now, we're talking 1973. Vern Gagne defeats Crusher to win his 6th AWA title. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, when you think about it, Bruno was a 2-time champ. Backlund was a 2-time champ. Pedro one time. Nobody has won the title like that. At least in that era. So that's kind of like, I could pick up a wrestling magazine and they were always a couple of months behind, but 1 minute it could be Vern Gagne, the next minute it could be Crusher or whatever, or whoever the other champions were. So that, to me, that formula, that looks like it could get stale pretty quick, especially if you did that now. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think the only reason why, I was going to say the only reason why it didn't go stale was that it was Bruno.
Yeah.
But then, it did work for a bit with Pedro, but eventually it kind of faltered, and
right.
You had to bring Bruno back in.
Sure.
And then finally Bruno said, look, I had enough. I'm, 42 years old, and they brought this superstar in. And a little bit of a twist, right? Now you got a heel champion, which I think they should have given him a longer run as a heel.
There's no doubt about it.
Babyface.
But like you said, it helps when you own your own promotion. I mean, that's like Vince McMahon. If he wrestled back in the 60s and 70s, will you keep winning the title every other weekend because he just wanted to? But, I mean, you think about it, it's kind of, I don't know, that formula, obviously it worked for them for a while, but I just don't see how it could work anywhere else. I mean, You own the company. You're doing all the booking. You're doing all the promotion. You're pretty much running the whole entire show, including, promoting yourself. You know what I mean? Don't forget, Vern Gagne was a wrestler as well. He was also a promoter. He was also an owner. So he's doing it all.
So
and then you push your 100. You talk about nepotism. You push your 150-pound kid. It was like very like. I mean, he was a very good worker, but I mean, he did not look like a wrestler.
Can I ask, what's the difference between the 50-year-old Vern Gagne putting the title on himself and the 50-year-old Vince McMahon doing the exact same thing?
Well, Vince didn't wrestle all that time. Vince McMahon was a character. He was the boss, chairman of the board.
But the other thing was, Vern Gagne had a huge amateur background.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
he was a wrestler.
Yeah, but
McMahon's
you have to say Vince had the build for it. He did his job in the ring. I mean, he had that crowd eating out of the palm of his hands.
Oh, he was a great heel, and he took every bump, and he did color, he did whatever he had to. You got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, nobody could say that he wouldn't do what don't do what I wouldn't do.
No, he definitely led by example for sure.
God, he loved to blade himself too, Vince.
He did. Yeah, he really did.
I mean, even up until a couple of years ago when Kevin Owens headbutted him, he freaking busted himself open. I'm like, the guy's 70.
Well, I think that one was a hard way. That was like,
I don't know. I mean,
he started bleeding right away. He was bleeding by the time he hit the ground.
Yeah, he was. You taking a bump like that at that age? I mean, you're talking. Taking one for the team is one thing, but taking one for the entire company, year after year after year during those attitude eras with Stone Cold and all that stuff. That's insane.
Yeah, Phil made the comment Vince had muscles. I think Vince was either in Muscle and Fitness or Flex, one or the other.
Yeah, he was always on there. Yeah,
he was on the cover at 50 and 60.
Yeah. But I mean, you can't get that. You don't get that body by accident. I mean, that guy was putting heavy duty time in the gym and putting the work in. You got to give him credit for that.
He was playing a character. That's what he was doing. He went from the office to the ring, and I think it all started with the Bret Hart screw job, right? Bret screwed Bret, and that's when the Vince McMahon moniker, aka character, came into focus. And
Pat after saying roids, I think Vince did have a little help from his friends.
Well, Vince has always been a big guy. If you look at him next to Bruno in the old days, wrestling commentary, Vince was a good sized guy. I mean, to the point where when he interviewed Andre the Giant, I think they put Andre in a box.
They did just
in a box, just so Vince didn't look as empowering next to him. I mean, even though you can't with Andre the Giant, but he really wanted to build Andre as a giant. So, Vince was for owner of a major wrestling company. He was putting the work in the gym. That's for sure.
Yeah, I actually saw that recently in the WWE. They showed a behind the scenes thing, and Io Sky. I couldn't believe how short she was compared to Bayley and Dakota Kai. She was on a 4-inch lift to make her just still a little bit shorter than them, but not as much. But I didn't realize how tiny she was.
Oh yeah, same with the other girl. Was it Hiro Shikita, the girl from AEW, the small one there, the inaugural champion, AEW Women's Champion. Her name's slipping my mind right now, but she wears like 4-inch heels on her things, and she's still small. Half of these girls can't even see over the top rope, so I don't understand the concept. I understand they're athletes and they're athletic and all that stuff, but I come from that era where you got to have some presence in the ring. You got to be. Charlotte's a good presence in the ring. Bayley, girls like that. I mean, don't knock Sasha Banks. She's still kind of short. These girls are Becky Lynch. She looks like she's starving herself after she had her baby. I hate to say that. She's not as bulky as she used to be when she was wrestling, because you are a wrestler or a sports entertainer. You have to have some presence in the ring. And some of these girls lack that. And it's okay. I mean, it's fun to watch, but you want to believe the character. But when you see, somebody like Io Sky, she's going to do those stunts to get herself over. She's a great wrestler, don't get me wrong, but you got to have some bulk there to take those bumps. So you got to be careful.
So I think
it looks like I'm up again, aren't I? Well, all right. So we go December 14th, 1998. I love this year. Monday Night Wars in full swing. According to the notes here, Monday Night Raw defeated Nitro. Looks like the viewership was 5.30 to 4.20. I'll never understood those metrics, because back then 12 to 15 million people were tuning into Monday Night Raw or Nitro.
I think Joe. I think like the 1 point is 1.4 million viewers. So you're right. It's like maybe like 7 million to like 5 and change. So
I know back then. Now everyone's like, oh, Raw defeated Nitro. Raw started defeating Nitro back in January of '98 when, the big move by Tony Schiavone telling everybody that Mankind, Mick Foley, Foley's going to win the title, and everybody turned the channel. They did. If you go through the '98 ratings book, they did go back and forth. So when you talk about the Monday Night Wars, it wasn't the WWF trying to catch up to Nitro. The Monday Night Wars, to me, in '98 were who's going to watch what channel and how they're going to one up each other. Now, of course, if you watch the docuseries on the network, both locker rooms had the same show, their respective counterpart shows on TV, watching to see what would happen next and so forth. So for this particular night, this Raw took place at the Tacoma Dome in Washington State. The main event saw The Rock with Shawn Michaels in his corner defeat Triple H with Chyna to retain the WWF Championship. That was the main event. Over on the Nitro side, from the beautiful Ice Palace in Tampa, Florida, I don't even know if that arena is still around. Triple threat match, Goldberg, Nash, and Bam Bam Bigelow. The match ended in chaos because Scott Hall came out and all hell broke loose and all that. Of course, the ratings come out and so forth. This is definitely, '98 was a huge year. Internet was fairly kind of just coming around the edge.
Right.
I don't even think Facebook was. No
No Facebook.
So internet was, AOL, plug it in, get off the phone. I need to use the computer type of thing.
Right.
And I just remember everyone was the ratings. Somebody put the ratings out there, and that's what everybody clamored to with these Monday Night Wars. Now, I don't know who would leak that information, how they got that information back then, because like I said, the internet was fairly new back then. So it wasn't like you just.
This was like the WrestleBoard era.
Yeah,
this was
your wrestling.
You had to go from site to site and to see all the breaking news. That was crazy.
And don't forget, these ratings didn't come out till after. You didn't get these ratings the next day like you do now. You had to wait a week or a month or whatever the book was, and flip to the page like, oh, how did we do? This is the height of the Monday Night Wars right here. This was, if you look back in the '98 ratings, they were going back and forth. 1 week it was Raw, 1 week it was Nitro, but it slowly, turned into everybody's tuning into Raw now because obviously we're going to talk about it soon that the Attitude Era takes over. So. That was good stuff there.
Here's my question, though. We had George Shire on Dan and Benny in the Ring last night, and actually, this is actually something we spoke about. That Joe, you just said 12, 13 million people. Now let's just so you got on Monday night, the viewership is about 1.5 ish. On Friday, SmackDown is maybe between 2 and 2.2 million. Now I have to believe that the same people that are watching Raw on Monday night are watching SmackDown on Friday night, so it's the same people. Same thing with AEW. I think the top show gets about 700,000-800,000.
Yeah.
Now those people probably are not watching Raw or SmackDown. So let's just say you got 3 million in total.
Sure.
All right, for the week versus 13 million. 25 years ago. Where'd those other 10 million people go?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. What I do know is that the biggest thing right now with the ratings, and Vince was a big advocate, and I think Tony Khan is too with AEW. Everyone DVRs everything now. Everybody streams everything now. Believe it or not, those aren't counted in ratings. You have to watch the shows live because obviously the product is live. The advertisements are live. They want real numbers. Okay, so 1.5 people watch Raw. That's great. I know a handful of friends back up in Boston that don't watch it until Tuesday or Wednesday because they can't stand the commercials and they fast forward it. So the DVR and the streaming has a huge thing. To me, I think
Hulu.
Let's talk about Monday through Sunday, how much wrestling is on TV now between every company. Everyone's vying for viewership. I mean, you can go. I did a wrestling minute for Bill Apter when AEW came around, and this is before they had Collision and Damage. Whatever the other show is for AEW, but nonetheless, we're saturated with the sport now. There's no, you know what I mean? If TNA's on one night, Impact's on one night, NWA's on one night, WWE, SmackDown, Raw, AEW's got 3 shows a week. We are saturated. You will never see 12, 13 million people watching wrestling anymore because it's just the product is flooded on TV, streaming, or whatever apps you watch and so forth.
Well, you didn't even mention you've got all these the apps, the streaming stuff, the fight networks.
Yeah.
I mean, all these independent companies also stream their shows now. So I mean, there is a glut of wrestling out there.
Yeah, I mean, and you go on Peacock and you have, on the WWE, well, it's not WWE Network anymore, but there's a veritable, treasure trove of old territory wrestling shows, just if you want to get your old school fix on. So yeah, I mean, there is so much wrestling that you could watch wrestling 24 hours a day if you wanted to.
Yeah, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. But yeah, the ratings now weren't accessible back then. I 98, great year, and I think Phil just commented too that he was in Worcester the night that Mick Foley won the title, and to me, that's one of the greatest pops you'll ever hear. Similar to CM Punk and Survivor Series, because when outside of the Hogan era, when you go to that, that pop factor, when Stone Cold's music and glass broke, and every single, to me, if I remember correctly, every single entertainer was in and around that ring. DX, China, Triple H, everybody was there, even Vince, Shane McMahon, and the glass broke. Holy cow, that the place lit up. It was an explosion. Yeah. I'm sure Phil can comment on that, but I'm sure his ears were ringing that night too. But that was the turning point right there when WWF finally beat Nitro in WCW. So, and that was a taped Raw, by the way. That wasn't even live.
Wow. So
unbelievable.
Let's fast forward about 5 years to 2003 in Orlando, Florida. WWE presents Armageddon from the TD Waterhouse Center in front of 9,000 paid attendants with 200,000 watching in pay-per-view. Highlights included Randy Orton defeating RVD to win the Intercontinental Championship. Molly Holly defeated Ivory to retain the WWE World's Women's title, and Triple H defeated Goldberg and Kane in a triple threat match to win the World Heavyweight Championship. I got to say, it's not the strongest attendance or pay-per-view buy for the WWE. I think this is kind of getting into that bland era. I think this is it's coming out of that attitude era that what do they call this? The new age? No, the
new era? No,
I
forget.
Yeah, it was just coming out of the attitude era. These guys have stayed involved and everything in WWE. The card itself, it was a good card, but overall, just another pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be dead serious. I don't think I even watched that. I don't remember it. I don't recall it. It's unfortunate. 03. Man, I'm getting old. I don't even know where I was in 03. But nonetheless, it's Orlando. I mean, 9,000 people in attendance. I mean, you're talking usually WWE pulls in double digits, 10, 20,000 people. Sure. So obviously something was going on here. And of course, Triple H defeating Goldberg and Kane. I mean, Goldberg, wasn't he like undefeated for like 1,050?
Goldberg was the champion. Yeah, Goldberg was the champion going in.
Yeah. So I mean, vanilla, if you ask me. And it's coming off the Attitude Era too. So I mean, that transition, that's a tough thing.
Yeah, they were transitioning to the PG, that second PG era where wasn't catering towards the hardcore fans. It was trying to get the new fans and the younger fans again.
Yeah. Be interested to note, what year did WWE stock go public?
Originally late 2001, 2000.
No, that's when he bought WCW. But when did the stock?
The initial one.
They didn't go public. Yeah, because I remember they had to cut everything back when they went public, like violence wise and all that stuff. So I don't know if that was a prelude to this or not. Maybe someone can chime in and let us know when that was. I want to say it was late 2000s, but
you might be right.
But yeah, this is definitely that vanilla product that came out, and they were relying on pay-per-view at that time again too. So this before streaming and everything else. Don't forget. So nice.
All right. So December 15th, 1963, Japan. Ricky Dozan, one of the most famous stars in the history of Japanese wrestling, died at the age of 38 following an infection from a stabbing by a Yakuza, I guess, gang member a week earlier. And he and Freddie Blassie did huge business when Blassie toured Japan. And I think he actually came to the United States at one point and won back then they had the WWA, World Wrestling Alliance, was considered actually, if you go back to the magazines back in the late 60s, you had the NWA, WWF, or WWF, AWA, but you also had the WWA, which initially was based out of Los Angeles and eventually migrated to Indianapolis.
Right.
It was bought by the Bruiser, but I think Ricky Dozan did actually defeat Blassie to win that championship. He was a huge star. Before Baba, before the Inoki, Ricky Dozan was the man in Japan.
He was a big guy, wasn't he? Was he a big guy?
Yep.
He was a huge guy. I guess nowhere but on a wrestling podcast we could talk about Japanese gang members.
Right.
I mean, that's crazy. 38 years old. Unbelievable.
They took their wrestling serious.
They do. They still do.
They still do, yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah, Fred Blassie was huge in Japan, wasn't he? He was a major draw.
Yeah, he was.
Yep.
And when he wasn't busy with John Tolos,
Yeah.
because I got to make Phil happy there for this.
You get a point for that one?
Yeah, I'll redeem one of my 11 points that I lost. But no, Blassie made frequent tours to Japan. Actually, he met his wife there, his second wife. And he loved Japan, and Japan loved him. Well, when he turned babyface, they loved him. They hated him in the beginning. I think they called him like the vampire or something like that.
Yeah, he used to bite everybody. That's
right. Yeah. Yep.
I remember those pictures in the magazines.
So let's fast forward to 1987 in Atlantic City, New Jersey. The second ever Slammy Awards. The most
oof, painful.
The most noteworthy part of this was Vince McMahon's amazing performance of Stand Back that we've unfortunately seen a million times since then. Yes.
Oh.
Amazing, tongue-in-cheek there.
Play, have you ever seen that? Play, you ever seen him sing that song?
I did. Yeah, I used initially the script said cringeworthy, and
there was no lip syncing there. There was no
Bruce used a little editorial license there, made it amazing. I'll stand by the cringeworthy.
Come on, he had all the dance moves there.
I wonder if Stevie Nicks wanted to sue him for the title of that song, because she had a big hit, Stand Back too. But wow,
maybe she should have wrestled him in one of the WrestleManias. That would have been a great match.
That would have been cool. There you go.
So
unbelievable.
I know you guys, probably didn't watch this because it was a little cheesy back then. But this was for me prime wrestling. I was a little kid and I ate it up. And you look at some of the things you had. The Hulk Hogan's Real American Award went to superstar Billy Graham. Woman of the Year was Elizabeth. Jesse the Body Award went to Rick Rude. Bobby the Brain Heenan Scholarship Award went to the Islanders. Andre the Giant, Hercules, King Kong Bundy, and Harley Race. Best Ring Apparel was the King Harley Race. Manager of the Year. The candidates, Manager of the Year. Candidates were Bobby Heenan, Mr. Fuji, Jimmy Hart, and Slick. And none of the above won. So, best performance by an animal was George the Animal Steele.
Oh, did he win that one? Unbelievable, shocker.
The one that I remember, the one that I remember the best was for the Song of the Year. You had all the Stand Back, you had Pile Driver, Girls in Cars, and the Honky Tonk Man, and then Sika came out and ate the envelope. So we never learned who actually won that one. So
my personal favorite was Land of a Thousand Dances.
Yes,
that was a big one. The video and everything I loved that one.
But awesome. That wasn't nominated.
Meatloaf was in there. Yeah, but that was great stuff.
Yeah, I ate it up. This was I thought this thing was great, but it definitely looking back, it was
it was cheesy, but it was good entertainment. You can't argue that.
Don't forget 1987. Everything was done big. Everything was big hair, big everything. So this is the probably right in the height of the circus era for the WWF. This is crazy.
So fast forward 10 more years to 1997 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Bret the Hitman Hart makes his first WCW appearance since signing with them the previous month. The purpose was to announce that Hart would be the special referee between Larry Zbyszko and Eric Bischoff. Woohoo!
Wow.
I gotta say, this was one of the nails in the coffin in WCW, was bringing Bret Hart in. I don't think we would have had the Attitude Era if Bret Hart would have stayed in WWF. Betty and I have kind of discussed it before, but could you picture what character would Bret Hart have played in an Attitude Era WWF? Yeah. I can't see one.
It wouldn't be marketable. It wouldn't be marketable.
No,
that's why.
Wouldn't be believable. No, and I don't think he would even do it. And I mean, but I will always say that I never, the minute I saw Bret Hart on WCW, I never once thought he felt comfortable. I mean, he was making a boatload of money.
Yeah.
But they didn't use him correctly. And he was a WWF guy, but that also passed him by though, because he could not have. I don't think he would have fit in the way he fit in previously.
Well, I said it earlier. Bret screwed Bret. Right. I mean, come to find out now. I mean, have we finally discovered that this whole thing was a major work? I mean, the Montreal screw job and everything that went down. I mean, it was, yeah, you look at what, not even a month went by, right? He was already in the WCW.
Right.
Because Survivor Series was in November, so the screw job. So, yeah.
Just didn't. Oh, good comment by Loose Cannon. Jive Soul Bro is still a dope song. I totally agree with that
I'm
comment.
so, gee, I wonder who sang that.
It was slick, wasn't it?
Doctor of Style.
It's the only one I can remember. Unbelievable. I mean, the wrestling album, is that the year the wrestling album came out too? Like Morocco had a pile driver song.
You know, it was a great
song
song on that album. I'm going to bring it. Was Nikolai Volkov singing Cara Mia.
Oh, there you go.
What a voice that guy had. I'm serious too. I mean, the guy had a beautiful voice.
And that is true. David Wolf had a lot to do with this. Phil chimed in with that one too. David Wolf wrote a couple of those songs. So he was with obviously the rock and wrestling connection with Cyndi Lauper. So that's pretty cool. All right. Who's up? Am I up? No. Yeah, I'm up again. Right. All right. December 15th, 1997. I have a prepared statement, by the way. Vince McMahon in a pre-tape segment aired on Monday Night Raw. Vince announces that WWF will be moving from the good guys and bad guys concept to a more attitude, and hence the Attitude Era is born, even though I think they were really entrenched. Just a couple of highlights from his speech. It has been said that anything can happen here in the World Wrestling Federation, but now more than ever, truer words have never been spoken. This is a conscious effort on our part to open the creative envelope, so to speak. So in order to entertain you in a more contemporary manner, even though we call ourselves sports entertainment because of the athleticism involved, the key word in that phrase is entertainment. We also think that you're tired of the same old simplistic theory of good guys versus bad guys. Surely the era of the superhero who urges you to say your prayers and take your vitamins is definitely, let's just say, passé. Hulk Hogan dig there right there. However, due to the live nature of Raw and Warzone, we encourage some degree of parental discretion as it relates to the younger audience being allowed to stay up late. Now, that's just a highlight of what Vince McMahon said, but we all know what this was referencing because this is a prelude to what? Outrageous storylines, nudity, violence, boiler room matches, chair shots, I quit matches, all that stuff. That Vince McMahon pushed the envelope on, and, you know, of course, puppies and everything else that came along after that. Interesting note, though. I mean, you talk about an historic endeavor by Vince McMahon to come out and warn the public that, you know, or not only warn them that there's going to be some heavy duty stuff coming on the air late at night, but hey, wrestling is fake, so to speak, is what he was referencing. It's more of sports entertainment, and that really crossed a major hurdle.
The way we know it.
Right then and there. I remember like it was yesterday. I'm like, what's he doing on the opening segment? And when he talked about it, boy, he meant it. So this was the birth of the Attitude Era, even though they were slowly building up to it. And Vince saw dollar signs, and boy, Mr. McMahon was born shortly thereafter. So this was a big deal. This was a huge deal.
When was it actually believable? I mean, I don't think coming out after the late 50s, early 60s, pretty much everybody understood what it was, even though you didn't necessarily say it.
I think, to me, wrestling was real in a sense where you had to perform. Whether, you know, athletes have to perform. Wrestlers do the same thing. I come up in the era of professional wrestling where a story is told, you know, like a soap opera and so forth. But yeah, I was, I would suck myself into that element. I cried when superstar Billy Graham tore up Bob Backlund's title, and Backlund was physically bawling his eyes out saying, why? And that was, to me, was believable. Even though they weren't wrestling, that storyline made it believable.
Yes.
Andre the Giant getting attacked by Killer Khan with a broken leg. People in the audience were screaming and crying. And I'm a 13, 12-year-old kid going, what the hell's going on? What's going on here? Your guy's got a broken leg and he's attacking him. So, you know, it was believable to the extent where the storylines catapulted and sometimes overtook the wrestling side of it. You know, to me, it was believable back then.
The term was temporary suspension of disbelief, and they did that to perfection. They made it. I mean, Vince Russo said that. I mean, that he compared the difference between wrestling then and wrestling now. Wrestling then were two guys working hard to make you, the audience, believe that they were actually having a fight.
Right.
And I mean, to me, that was up until Hogan beat the Sheik.
Yeah.
Up until then, I still, even though I knew what was going on, but even like Bruno Zabisco, which was 1980.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was 25. I'd been watching for 12 years. I knew, I knew the score, but to me, that was so real that I forgot that that it was predetermined. But Russo said now it's no longer two guys working to make you believe it's real. It's just two guys trying to get their shit in.
Yeah, exactly. No
Exactly.
facial expression. No, working this hold to show how excruciatingly painful it is. And we've talked about
like
it. Even the lockup of the hands, we don't see any of that anymore.
Nope.
Yeah, when Bruno and Superstar would do that test of strength and they'd lock up, and I mean, and they could do that for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and nobody said boring.
No,
not one person. I mean, it you wanted to see what was going to happen, and they made it look so real. You really thought you were watching a fight.
Yeah, it was always the buildup. It was a storyline. It was the prelude to the wrestling. Morocco Wars. I was a kid then. I genuinely believed these two hated each other. And some of the names they called each other on TV, you could not say today because politically incorrect and all that stuff. Morocco had some choice words from Morales back then, and that made you believe there was a fight coming to town, whether it was the Boston Garden, Madison Square Garden, the Spectrum, the Capitol Center, anywhere else. And you believed it. That temporary suspension of belief and all that. What you mentioned, you're spot on with that.
You bought a ticket to watch guys fighting, whereas now you buy a ticket to watch to do a sing along and see an ass clown like Seth Rollins dressed like a bozo. I mean, it's just so different.
Well, one of the reasons why I don't go to a Raw taping anymore is because there isn't any of that. It's like, okay, we're gonna take a break. We got a TV timeout.
It's a show. It's a show now.
I get that.
It's Cirque du Soleil.
I mean, there were times when nobody wrestled in between the commercial breaks. Now they kind of keep the crowd entertained by wrestling because they knew when you come back from the break,
they'll have stuff coming up on the monitors with like dance alongs. They'll have people come out, shoot T-shirts into the crowd. It's last time I went to MSG, they had a couple of dark things on when they were doing extended segments on TV. They had a surprise Ronda Rousey come out and beat up Doudrop or something like that. It's. Yeah, I get it. They're giving something more to the crowd. They're giving something more to that live audience. But no, the old days are gone. I look back when I met Manny Fernandez, and he was telling me the story about him and Wahoo in the strap matches, and they were just laying it into each other. They were not holding back. That pain that they were showing was real, because they were hurting each other, and they did that left and right. I mean, he told me one point that he had to go get a bunch of stitches because of the strap, and I believe him.
I mean, the shoot matches, as they call, are just not existent anymore. It's just what they do. Like you said, you get in, get as much crap in as you can before the next commercial break. There's just no storytelling anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? Nope. Like, talk about CM Punk coming back. That was great. Hell froze over. That was shocking, and the shock and awe and all of that. But where do we go now? You know what I mean? I'm sure that's for another podcast, but
yeah. And by the way, Punk is very, very vanilla. It seems like he's holding back or he's being held back because his promos just don't have the usual spice that he normally would have.
Oh, you're going to see that change. I think the end story is.
I think you're right. I think that is part of our larger story.
Here is the prodigal son, but we all know what happens. Sooner or later, he's going to butt heads and
absolutely.
And people, and that's in the WWE is going to build on that, and they're going to want us to wait and watch and see what happens. And when it finally does happen, that'll be the end of that. So,
yeah, absolutely, you got it. Totally agree. All right, so December 16th, 1990, St. Louis, Missouri, Starrcade WCW presents Starrcade 90 Collision Course at the historic Kiel Auditorium. This show featured the Pat O'Connor Memorial International Cup Tag Team Tournament in honor of the great former NWA champion who had passed away earlier in the year. In the finals, Team USA, which was the Steiners, defeated Team Japan, which was Great Muta and Mr. Saito, to capture the cup. And in non-tournament action, Sting defeated Black Scorpion to retain the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Dick the Bruiser was the special guy. I love that name, Dick the Bruiser.
Dick the Bruiser.
What a name! And he one of my favorite wrestling magazine articles was "I Can Lick Any Man Alive" by Dick the Bruiser. Something you could never say today.
Wasn't he like a big tag team with Crusher?
I mean, yeah,
Bruiser and Crusher. Those are wrestling names. If I
Richard Atlas was his real name. He played for the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, and came to wrestling because, believe it or not, back in the 50s, you could make more money as a professional wrestler than you could as an NFL ball player.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah,
unbelievable. I'm sure he could.
But I have a question though. Who and if anybody out there, the Scorpion, the Black Scorpion, I do not think was Flair this time. Was it Al Perez? Anybody know who that was?
Might have been Al Perez.
I'm going to say Al Perez, but maybe Phil might know that.
Interesting. Have to get someone to chime in on that if they can.
Yeah.
Definitely. Check that out. All right. Am I up again?
Yes, sir. Up.
Oh, boy. Okay. We're going to go December 16th, 2007, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. WWE presents Armageddon from the Mellon Arena in front of 12,500 people paid attendance, with 237 watching via pay-per-view. In the main event, we saw Edge defeat Batista and The Undertaker in a triple threat match to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Again, this is that stage of WWE where transformation, almost kind of like eat, sleep, repeat is going on and so forth. Quick note, some of the matches on there that I liked. Rey Mysterio defeated MVP by countout. That was a big one. Big Daddy V and Mark Henry with Matt Stryker defeated CM Punk and Kane. CM Punk on the card. Shawn Michaels defeating Mr. Kennedy. Whatever happened to Kennedy? Does anybody know? Triple H lost to Jeff Hardy. Finlay with Hornswoggle, another one there, defeated the Great Khali with Singh in the corner. Chris Jericho defeated Randy Orton. Good match there by disqualification. Beth Phoenix defeated Mickie James. Obviously, two Hall of Famers there. Edge defeated Batista and The Undertaker and so forth to win the championship. Vanilla pay-per-view, to say the least. Experts really, I want to say, gave this probably a 6 or a 7 out of a 10. Like I said, 07, things are starting to change. I know Vince is probably looking in a new direction, still trying to find out what year they went public with the stock and so forth. Because,
I think Phil said 03.
Okay, 03. So they're already public. So, no more violence, no more blood, no more, the stuff that the Attitude Era was used to and so forth. Things were kind of, I don't know, to me, during this year, again, I would tune in just to see what happened, but I wasn't I didn't buy the pay-per-view all the time. By then, the internet was up and running, and we were cooking with that. So I can find out the results probably as they happened at the time. I think iPhones were just coming out then too as well. So like a vanilla to me, like, I know we hate to use that word, but
yeah,
this was not, I got to go watch this pay-per-view because I got to see so-and-so. This was eat, sleep, repeat for me. I'm sure some people disagree and so forth, and that's great. It's great to have an opinion, but to me, yeah, it was just whatever.
So to you, Joe, I'm getting out of here, right?
I'm getting out of here. I'm getting.
So speaking of getting out of here, it looks like Phil has got to go. He's got some clients. So Phil, we will see you tomorrow night on the 30.
See you, Phil.
All righty.
So moving on to 2012, WWE presents TLC at the Barclays Center. The event marks the debut of The Shield, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins in a 6-man TLC match against Daniel Bryan, Kane, and Mr. Charisma himself, Ryback. The match was won by The Shield. Main event saw Dolph Ziggler win a ladder match with Money in the Bank briefcase at stake when AJ Styles turned on John Cena to side with Ziggler. So check that out, the debut of The Shield. Who would have thought that, 12 years later, according to PW Insider, or Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins are the number 1, 2, and 3 top wrestlers. I think it was Seth, then Roman Reigns, then Moxley there. So
and he carries that torch to this day, Moxley. He knows that. He spent the next few years in WWE, and he was, point blank miserable, right? He was like...
So Pat F is chiming in with, he said Kennedy is now doing something,
boxing
announcer now.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Pat. Appreciate that.
Only fitting, right? With the, he had that classic thing with the mic coming down.
And welcome, Pat. Pat's a newer viewer, so welcome, Pat.
Yeah, Pat, welcome.
Thanks for coming by.
Appreciate you, Pat.
Thanks for the
Appreciate you.
info.
Nice, good stuff there. Awesome.
Oh, it looks like Lil Patty jumped in the chat too. Patty, how's
Little
it going?
Patty.
Hey,
Little Patty's a Chiefs fan, I think, if I remember correctly.
Chiefs and Pats this Sunday. All right, who's up? Benny, you up?
I believe it's me. So December 17th, 1979, New York, Madison Square Garden. Bob Backlund defeats Bobby Duncombe in a Texas death match to regain the WWF Championship. The title had been vacated 10 days earlier. Backlund went to Japan. Inoki beat him in a title change that was never recognized. I guess in the return encounter, they went to a draw. Inoki didn't want the championship, which I don't understand, but and it was never recognized. And Backlund's reign is continuous. They show him from February of 78 to December of 83. I don't get that. I mean, NWA would do the Harley race, the Briscoe, to Japan with the Baba.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. Yep.
And and then even Dusty won the title, I think, 3 times, but I don't think he ever had it more than a couple of weeks. They had no problem changing the belt out frequently, but the WWE, they believed in that long-term thing. At least then they did.
I'm starting to think it was like a prestigious thing. They didn't want to have that, champion for a day or two type element that the NWA had and so forth, a.k.a. Tommy Wildfire Rich. What do you hold the belt? 7 days, 6 days?
Garvin had it 1 month. I don't think he made it.
Right. So, I think it's a prestigious thing, but I also think it was just the power thing. If you weren't there, you didn't know about it. Unfortunately, people were there and they did know about it. Just like Greg Valentine and Backlund in November of '81. That was that title was vacated a month before. Same situation there. It was only recognized in New York, but it wasn't recognized anywhere else. Even though the wrestling magazines come out and showed Valentine wearing the title. So to me, I want to say it's a prestigious thing now. I've been trying to think about this because we talked about it last week. I'm starting to think that they just didn't want that. 1 minute it's this guy, the next minute it's that guy. They thought their champions were the face of the company and they were supposed to carry the company. And
I think Vince Sr. wanted stability.
Yeah. So, interesting note. We're talking about it now, 1979. And, obviously there's literature on it and there's people that have witnessed it or written about it. But still, to have a company like the WWE or then the WWF not recognize it, it's dumbfounding to me. I just don't understand it.
Yeah. Gotcha. Great.
All right, moving on. We get December 17th, 2000 in beautiful Washington, D.C. The final Starrcade under the WCW banner was presented at the MCI Arena. Only 50,000 fans purchased for this lackluster pay-per-view. Oh, okay. So, that was horrible. The main event saw Scott Steiner retain the WCW Heavyweight Championship over Sid Vicious. A 55-year-old Terry Funk defeated the Crowbar for the Hardcore title. And approximately 3 months later, WCW was purchased by Vince McMahon for some office supplies. Now, experts gave this pay-per-view a 6.0. Really not going to go through the matches, but anyways, this was the last Starrcade under any other pay-per-view under the WC banner because Vince McMahon would actually buy this company 3 months later. I think that the talent knew the end was there. The people knew the end was there, but everybody thought this pay-per-view was going to be a sleeper. But some of the matches proved otherwise. The wrestlers still on the card wanted to put on a show and so forth. Morale was lower than low. The only interesting note I could really find on this was fast forward to 2017, WWE held a house show called Starrcade, which took place on November 25th, 2017 at the Greensboro Coliseum. That's probably why they did it, because it was in Greensboro. Main event, AJ Styles versus Jinder Mahal, blah, blah, blah. 2017, it was a house show. Really, nobody paid attention to it. So, to me, that's almost like Vince McMahon socking it to Jim Crockett and them for having those Starrcades for all those years that entertained fans on Thanksgiving every year for multiple years. And to just throw an anniversary show up on a house show, I don't know. Seems like Vince was saying, the hell with those guys.
Yeah.
You guys tell me.
Yeah, no, that was definitely the nail. Everything was over at WCW at that point. What did he end up buying everything for? I think it was like $10 million or something.
I think it was more like $3 million. It was
crazy.
Steal.
He made that back in the first tape he released.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and I think the main part here was he just wanted the library. He wanted the footages. He wanted all that stuff. Forget about the company, because you know what he's going to do with the company. He's actually going to combine it, dissolve it, do whatever. He wanted the library. That was a big deal. That was a big I think I read that somewhere during the Monday Night Wars and so forth that him and Ted Turner would go back and forth. Like he wanted that library because he knew it was going to be money. Turner, coming from the television side, almost didn't want to give it to him, but eventually, that was part of the deal. But he wanted that footage. He wanted the footage. There's no doubt about it.
So
he knew there was money there. So
let's fast forward to the last topic for today. We have WWE Clash of Champions on 12/17/2017. WWE Clash of Champions took place at the TD Bankworth Garden. The main event saw AJ Styles successfully defend his WWE Championship against Jinder Mahal. Dolph Ziggler won the Intercontinental Championship in a triple threat against Bobby Roode and defending champion Baron Corbin. Wow. The rest of the card wasn't much better, but if you look at those were some of the most hyped things, and outside of AJ Styles, really nobody's relevant out of those guys anymore.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they're all pretty much gone, or they're just not relevant anymore.
Now
Bobby Roode had spinal fusion surgery a couple months ago. So
what happened to Corbin? Where is he?
He's now in
NXT.
NXT, yeah, and he says he doesn't want to move back up to the big roster because he's kind of found his calling down there and is enjoying helping the younger guys.
He came from there.
Yeah, he's enjoying.
He came from there,
guys.
so why not? Right? Yeah. Yep, he's doing wonders down there. I think people know that when you go to NXT, you're part of a smaller locker room, and that you want to, and it gets you motivated because you're going to have your time. Where when you're on SmackDown or Raw, you're either going to have the time or you're not going to have the time because, as we all know, a lot of people sit in catering week after week, and you don't even know who's there.
Sure.
So, but Baron Corbin, NXT, good stuff there. But Bobby Roode still recovering from. He had like 2 spinal surgeries this past couple of years. Not sure if he's going to retire or not, but I do know that he was backstage at Raw producing or doing some stuff. So, I mean, he's mobile now, but he still has a long road to recovery. But he's definitely in the background somewhere.
I'm still trying to wrap my arms around Jinder Mahal pinning Randy Orton for the WWF. And I posted something on Facebook. What was the worst finishing hold of all time? And my 2 choices were Wade Barrett's Wasteland and Eric Watts' Fireman Carry, but I think I have to make number 3. Jinder Mahal's was a Coloss.
Yeah, something like that.
Whatever that even was.
What about that Pounce one where he just runs into the guy on the side and knocks him over?
The drive-by?
I don't drive-by? It just looks horrible. The guy just runs into the guy's side.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But,
now, don't forget, Jinder Mahal, this is on the cusp of the Saudi Arabia deal that Vince was about to ink. And Jinder Mahal has played a huge role in that because Jinder Mahal became champion when they went over there.
Right.
So that was a big deal. Then the India tour started. So this is like on the cusp of that. They were expanding globally, with the Saudi deal and the India stuff and all that stuff. So that's why kind of Jinder Mahal was inputted as a champion for some time there. So
it's amazing how they recycle him. What was the name of the thing with 3MB? With Drew McIntyre. Who's the third person? I can't remember now.
Oh my God, I couldn't even tell you.
Was it Shannon Moore or
Shannon Moore? No,
he was part of 3 Count.
Buff Bagwell. No, I'm only kidding.
Mike Monty says the worst is either the People's Elbow or Santino's Snake.
The Cobra's that's got right up there. It's like absolutely stunning.
The Cobra. Bring back the sleeper hold. You gotta love that.
The sleeper hold, and then not only the sleeper hold though. Like what was very important about the sleeper hold was that the heel had to smack the guy on the back to wake him up because like there was no blood going to the brain, and the announcer would sell the shit out of that, and they'd start panicking if like Professor Tanaka, played around and didn't slap the guy. I mean, eventually he did, of course, but I love that. That was very believable.
I think what they could do nowadays with the commercial breaks, put him in the sleeper hold, then during the commercial break, put the picture in picture, and then come back out and be like, he's still asleep, and then go to another commercial break. He won't wake up. Like you can really play that if you really want. But is what it is.
So it looks like we've come to the end of another show. Thanks, guys. That was a lot of fun. Some cool topics.
Thanks, everybody. Thank everybody for tuning in. This has been great.
Absolutely, yes. Santino's Snake. Well,
the chat was awesome.
I imagine he's talking about the Cobra.
We had a really active chat. It was pretty cool. I'm glad we're going to be pretty much doing this every Thursday live at 4 p.m. It looks like that seems to be a time that's working for all of us, and tune in next week for that. But hey, Joe, what do you got? What do you have to plug for this week?
We got What a Day in Centerville goes live tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock my time. that is live on Facebook and YouTube. You can find that on my What a Day in Centerville Facebook and YouTube page. And of course, I know he's not tuned in right now because he was. I'm coming after Phil tomorrow night on Monte The Pharaoh presents The 30. I am not going to be the SD Jones of this competition. I'm going to get the Duke sooner or later.
Nice. What's going on with Dan and Benny in the ring and the what's the twin ball? What did we rename it?
Twin Bill is now the Line Drive Baseball Podcast, coming back at you. Is that it, Joe? Or
coming right at you.
Coming right at you.
Dad,
more importantly, as an Italian man, I want to know what little Patty is cooking for dinner. That's what I mean. Cause that's all I really care about at this moment. She's
awesome.
Oh, she's cooking? Oh, what is she
said,
cooking?
Yeah, she's trying to listen, but she's cooking supper at the same time. I got to know what she's making.
Well, hey, why don't we thank her for tuning in? That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good stuff.
These
all
are
right,
all great
guys.
people. This is truly a family here.
All right. Well, thank everybody for tuning in. We'll hopefully see everybody tomorrow night on the 30 and the main show. And until next week, later.
Later. What a day.
Ciao.
From the pages of Wrestling Remembered comes Where Are They Now? Our own Jimmy Pharaoh. Even though Jimmy's missing in action from the show for the past couple months, his chair is just waiting for his return. Currently, Pharaoh is on break from the show and is soaking up the sun with his love in Florida. Ron Shaw. Last we saw Ron, he and Monte buried the hatchet on an episode of Monte and the Pharaoh. Since then, Ron was seen threatening to punch a director after not receiving a role on the senior edition of the Jersey Shore. Currently, he can be seen beating up drunks at his country club. John Cena Sr. John Cena Sr. quickly became a friend of the show during the Thursday Night Wars. Currently, Mr. Cena can be found making his world-famous hot sauce. Daniela Petro. Former co-host Daniela was terminated for breaking the code of conduct of Monte and the Pharaoh and has returned to a life of irrelevance and posting about Matt Riddle on X.com. That's all for this week. Make sure to check out Wrestling Remembered for your weekly dose of wrestling history.